Hey, it's Ryan again. We're gonna kind of pick up where we left off yesterday and see what we can get done. Sorry about the missing clips, but I'll show you a little bit of how to get the control arm out on the 04 when we get that done, and I can show you how we did this emergency brake down here, and then we'll get to popping out the knuckle and hopefully the speed sensor and a couple other things. So what we had to do was come down here and you can see those two bolts in the back are missing. Well, you have to release the e-brake and slide the cable back and forth a little bit to get some room. Then once that's done, you got this little boy up here, and you have to kind of shimmy the cable over the top of it. It does have a little peg down here, so it makes it a little difficult because it gets caught on that. Now as far as our speed sensor goes, I did let it sit in some JB Weld some PB Blast, and it's still pretty stuck in there. And if you can see when you look down in here between the heat shield and the rotor, if it'll focus, it's gonna want to focus on everything else. It's in there just a little bit crooked, so it's probably not gonna come out. And the other thing I realized that this is a 4-lug and we're going to a 5-lug, so the gearing may actually be different. So we're gonna go ahead and swap out sensors, and the way to do that is there's a plug right back here that you have to undo. Let me take that back. That's just the bracket down there. The actual plug is up here underneath the seat, and we're just gonna go ahead and disconnect that, and then we're gonna have to pull this stopper out to get the cable to go through. Unfortunately, we may end up having to cut it since the sensor is not coming out with it, but that's okay. We can make something else work later. Now you can see that this plug is out, and we made one nice little cut right here on the side, so it will slip right back in there and plug back in, and we'll be good to go to reuse it. So we just push this out, I believe we're gonna have to take that 10mm nut out right there to loosen up this bracket, and just pull the bracket down in one piece. Okay, so we got that out, and I was actually wrong. It wasn't the bolt I was showing you. The bracket was actually covering the bolt. It is still one 10mm, and then you slide it out of the way, and that will take care of getting our speed sensor out. Now what we got to look at doing is not only getting our bottom bolts out here, but we need to disconnect all the e-brake cables and the banjo fitting on the caliper, so we can get that out of the way. Now, that banjo fitting is probably going to be a 14. Or a 13. That's a 14. And we're going to try to do this without air. One, because the compressor's off, and two, don't want to take a chance of stripping anything. So off we go with that. It should just come right out. Our washers are completely stuck to the line, so it's not necessarily a bad thing. Oh, the bottom one's still down there. Oh, that's okay. And then we're going to come back here and get these two right here for the bracket, which again will probably be 14s. Nope, those would be 12s. One loose. There's the other loose. And just for the sake of time, I'm not going to take all those out, at least on the video. Now we got one more. Let's see it. This is down here for the e-brake cable. And there we go, we got that one loose and coming out. So I'll go ahead and pull these out. Then we're gonna have to start at the compressor to get the strut out. But once these are out, I'll be right back with all of that. Okay, so now we got those all disconnected, and we can go ahead and start trying to get the lower, or the knuckle out, which is gonna be a bit of a pain as this bolt is actually pretty much stuck in there. But I would just give a little bit of a tug. Shimmy that bolt out, and then out we go. Alright, now while we're waiting for my noisy compressor to fill back up, I'm going to go ahead and get this busted up ratty fender off here and see if we got any other possible potential problems going on. So one thing to do that is you have to remove this plastic on the side of the windshield, and it does have clips, and they're not necessarily fun to get off. Looks like some of them have already been taken off, but there's a couple different ways to do it. And the best is to not do that, which is pull sideways, but you want to pull up and out kind of at the same time. Alright, so now we got that out, and not the best way. We'll have to try to do better next time, because we're going to have to actually reuse the next one. You can see here's where the clips lock in, and they kind of slide. And the clips in the car and on the outside rail, and looks like that one broke off pretty good, so we'll be replacing that. And this one's about halfway broke off, so we'll be placing that as well. Now underneath here, which came off with the plastic, there's actually a rubber seam that goes down here on the side. And you want to make sure you get that out as well, because when it comes to resealing the window and everything else, just, you know, they're pretty ratty. Like, that's not really going to be reusable. It's too stiff, a lot of crud on it. It may clean up. But here you can see how the clips are supposed to come out, and they should stay to it like that, so they can clip back in. And you got a slide in one there. Yeah, so we'll just do better the next time. Always a possibility. So now what we got as far as the outside is we got our one bolt here, and then we got a body pin down here, which is actually the kind you push the middle on and it pops out, but it's so loose I got a good feeling I can get that out with some wire cutters and save it. It's really, that's just holding in the plastic on the inside to the fender, which we'll probably end up removing. And that should pretty much be it. I think there's one bolt down here on the bottom that's got to come out, and then that fender should come right off. As you can see, most of the wheel well has already been stripped anyway, so it's not a huge deal. But let me get those off and then we'll see what's going on. Okay, so there was one more hidden bolt up here at the top. Actually, it sits behind the plastic for the rear view mirror, and that just pops out with the screwdriver. Pretty easy since I'm not worried about this fender to go in here, but it's probably actually better to go in from this side or have the door open and get it from inside the door. Then you don't have to worry about messing up your paint. So go ahead and zip that off. And should be able to. Oh, there's them side marker light right there, so we'll have to unplug it right there. So we've got to unplug that. Alright, so now we got that fender off. So you let the plastic attach. You just pull this one bolt here from the body and it stays attached. And we see our second problem. This got bent as well. If we take a look on the other side, there's what it's supposed to look like. So I guess we're going to be doing some cutting and welding on that too. I mean, we can try see if they actually bent them like that on purpose to get the body panels to line up, but just gut feeling we'll have to do something about that. Alright, now we can get back to getting the suspension off. Like I said, this control arm's in pretty decent shape. You know, no real reason to take it off if I don't have to. Can't really see the bushings, but we're gonna go with that how it is. And sway bar link is completely out of juice, so we may end up switching that out. But we'll do it the right way and get an Allen to fit here and take that nut off, which Allen to fit here and take that nut off, which I'm sure is going to be a pain in the butt with the rust. But for right now, let's just focus on trying to get my air gun down in there to get the bottom loose on. Alright. Get a little tight once it comes out, but that's alright. So we're able to get it loose, but it's gonna take probably a swivel to get the bolt to actually come out. Alright, now we got our swivel on there. We should be able to get the bolt to come all the way out. Or we could do something stupid like that. Have to go. I should get a clip. I think that's about that's about as far as we're gonna get it with the air gun. So let me tinker with that. I'm gonna need 2 hands to pull and stuff, and we'll go from there. Alright, so as you can see, we got the bolts out, and per typical Honda, the control arm moved up a little bit. So it's just squeezing that strut in there. So now we can move back here to the inside and get our 2 bolts out. Shouldn't be too bad. Now, I'm not sure if it's possible because I haven't done one of these, but we may, unfortunately, end up having to take this control arm out, which, as you can see, our strut didn't drop. But what we're going to try to do is be a little on the sneaky side, do a little bit of prodding, and out she comes. So that takes care of the rear suspension. We're just going to rinse and repeat on the other side and then go from there. Alright, so now that we got the suspension apart and we can get to our wiring, one thing you notice is this headrest is not really in that great a shape. So we're going to go ahead and pull that out. Wonderful helicopter. Okay, so not sure what that was about, but that was a patrol helicopter, and they pretty much just came in my backyard. So you see, we got to get that one little plastic screw out there. The light's got to come out. The A-pillars need to come out, and we'll probably end up taking the visors and the light up in the front down as well. Use some of that. But when you pull this down, there are clips that it's attached to back here in the back that they're glued to. So this is kind of a one-time use thing, but you can see all the mold and everything just growing on it. Actually, since we're just going to destroy it, might be able to push it around the light, but it's going to take a little bit of persuasion. So let me get back to you. So we made it past the light, but as I noticed, we also got these shit bars back here. They're gonna have to come out. Now basically the center plugs pop out, and then there's probably Phillips head screws in there for that. So we'll take a look at that in just a minute. We got the one plastic screw here, just the Phillips head screwdriver. It should screw out. Oh, we'll just pop it out. That's the way it's supposed to be done. Alright, so now we get over here. We can see this is that soft Civic plastic. So let me go grab my other. So now with this screwdriver, should be able to get in there a little bit easier. Just kind of pry a little bit. There she goes. Now that's a Phillips head. So now over to the other side. Try to be careful with these. And that one's out. And that's a Phillips head. So take our Phillips head, line it up in there the best we can, and it should just come right out. Time's sake, save you guys a headache. As you can see, we got the back down, up to the A-pillar, and I went ahead and removed it, kind of accidentally not recording, but there's a cover here that goes over the bolt that we need to get the seatbelt out, which we're going to do in a minute too. And as you see, it just slides over. It has little clips on the bottom, more than likely destroyed. Nah, one side is, because I just popped them out on the side. Again, it's one of those pieces that's probably going to stay out of this car. So what we need to do now is get that bolt out, and then we will be able to get this A-pillar out. And today we're also going to get these seatbelt reels out and this wonderful body brace, and we're going to hope it all goes back together straight without any real issues. Otherwise I'm going to be building a roll cage, I guess. So let's go from there. Now all these bolts are 14 so far, except for this right here is a 10. So we'll go ahead and just stick with the 14 and rip away. Our 10. Now that pretty much takes care of that side. Now what we need to do on the A-pillar, kind of slowly pull it out. And there's one clip up here in the top, which I'm more than likely going to break. Nope, got it. And as you see on the bottom, there's a little slide in pin, so you need to kind of push up and out when you're taking it off. So that'll let us go ahead and get the sunroof down. Now generally you'd have to get this A-pillar out here, which we're still going to have to do. This is the A-pillar in the front. I know you can't see me. It kind of just slides in there, and it has a clip up here at the top. So you pull from the side and then up and out, and it'll come out. And we're going to have to take the visors out, so I'll look into that. I believe it's just a clip inside of here to drop the retainers down and then slide them out, but we'll double check on that. And I'm going to knock out the other side of the support bar, which actually is some bolts down here on the side. Go ahead and zip those out real quick. Alright, now as you can see, we got that A-pillar off over there and our front one off over there, and this other one we'll have to get to in a minute. Looks like it's going to be the same deal, but we still got to figure out what to do with those headliners. So when you take this out, I could just pop it out and should just be able to pick up on it. And a little twisty. I think we broke that last clip there off, so I had to figure out a better way to do that next time. I'm supposed to just pull straight up and back, but it wasn't working, so I got a little twist happy and made a dissection. But as you can see here, we've actually got our bar and our seat belts. That one's still got a 10mm in it. Took care of that. Seat belts out of the way, and there is a clip here that looks like it's going to be pretty annoying to get off, so we'll leave that set to the side for a minute. But our main concern is this bit of wiring right here. As you can see, the factory wiring harness actually has a plastic plug that goes into our support frame, which is actually technically separate from the bar, but not want to separate it at the moment. So what we're going to do to get these out, hopefully, take a pair of pliers, line them up, squeeze, and push, and out they come. Alright, so that solves our wire getting in the way. And there we go. It's our rusty bracket, junk, and our rusty bar, junk. Now these are probably savable with some sandblasting and some grinding and stuff like that, but realistically I'm not gonna do that. I got another one that doesn't have as much rust on it, so we're just gonna swap them out. But you can see where the rust was coming off down here. There's some fun candy back here, and that also makes things a little bit easier to get to our wiring harness. Now, as you see, some of this does go into the door frame here. Luckily it's just one clip, so we'll see how far we can go with actually replacing the whole harness. Should just be that one clip and then down here through the middle. Now, what I'm going to do is all these rusted, clean out the rust first, but all these rusted pieces that are in here, we're going to try to swap all those out. Should be, I think, we still got my door box in there, yeah, but as you can see, much better condition. I don't know if that's a changeable part or not, but we are going to have to strip the whole center column, the shift part, the AC system, these A-pillar columns, and remove the airbags and steering rack and steering wheel and everything in between, just to get the dash out. So this will be a bit of a project, so that's why we're kind of holding off on that. But really looks like just the wire cover plate is in a lot better shape, and the dash, that looks pretty good. A little less rust, not a lot less rust, but a little less. We may leave those be. We'll see how things go, because that's going to get involved with some adjustments. But the major thing we're going to work on swapping, probably off camera, is working seat belts and cross member bar. It yes, is a little rusted, but it pretty much just, I can't really see. Wipes right away. So that to me is, you know, rust is gonna happen anyways. But that to me is a lot better off than having something that's solid rusted. And as you can see, there's a lot of actual clean metal down here. So just a looks thing, easier to paint over, stuff like that. Bracket, probably that's pretty bad, but probably not that much better than the other one. So we'll see how things go. Okay, so with these visors, there is a cover right here that goes right in here. You can see it. And what you have to do is just pry that off. And then, as you can see, there's a Torx / Phillips in there, or maybe that's a Phillips / flathead that goes in there. Looks like it's been pretty stripped. So we're going to try to get those out and get the rest of the headliner down. Okay, so as you can see, our headliner is completely down. Not the most glorious look, but actually it's not that bad. Now I did run into two problems, and one, if I can find one, is these sun visor clips. As you can see, they actually press in. They actually press into the top. So I did on the first one, which is kind of a good example of soft Honda plastic, is pry it from the side, not knowing that it was clipped in, and kind of rocket shipped it out of there. On the other side, I have yet to find the actual thing, but I pried it right out of the hole. Right out of the hole there. And you see it didn't break off in there. I just don't know where it went. The other thing is the controller for the sunroof. Now, it does clip in. You could get it from the side and you can pull it out, and there's a cable. But the problem is it was solely held up by the liner. So now I'm going to have to make a bracket or get crazy with some glue or something. I don't really want it just dangling. there. I'll probably glue it. I got a little bit of room to move it and find a decent spot to replace it. I may even, since we're going to take this harness out, I may separate the wires and relocate it somewhere else. So, now we can kind of get down to a little bit of strenuous, maybe not needed, but slight rust removal. As we're going to pop that pan and the e-brake assembly out and go over disconnecting, the cable and the actual e-brake cables, which these look like they will twist and pop out, but we'll have to get some play by taking these off. And the cover looks like it's held in with flat blade screwdriver, or Phillips screwdriver. It's going to be interesting. I'll have to find my drill. And this clip over here for the e-brake should just pop right off. There it goes. And then you got your sensor in there, which looks a little beat up, but it's okay. And so now this is your actual adjustment and the cables. So we'll be getting all that apart soon. These look like they're going to be 12s, and the ones down here are probably going to be 12s, and the ones in here are probably going to be 12s. So let's get a 12mm together and get rocking. Always helps when you got your button pushed in all the way. Alright, so one out of the way. That's number 2. Quite come out all the way. Go ahead and get these off while we can. So now that'll make things a little easier. Should be able to slide these over now. And get those out. It's gonna take 2 hands though, so hold on a second. Alright, so basically with these you just line up your cable with this slot here, and then twist and push up from the bottom and it comes right out. So you got to repeat that twice. Get that over here. Now that takes the bracket out of the way, and we can move on to taking out the e-brake, which is going to have a clip on this wiring harness that we'll get to in a minute. Alright, now with those 3 bolts out of the way, we got an e-brake cable that's loose, except for that wire down there. So let me take this plate off and get back to you, and we'll press that little plastic clip and get that taken care of. Okay, so as you can see, kind of started pulling the wiring harness a little bit, getting things ready to go. A lot of it is just tape that you can just pull and slide off, and then you got some clips that will most likely get destroyed, but maybe able to save them later on, or that break like that. As you can see, that's what the plugs are supposed to look like. I saved the tape on that one. Really not a big deal, because it's better to actually take the tape off and leave the plug in place. Now a couple things that to note while I'm doing this is, one, this plug here actually goes here into the chassis, and to get to it you have to go around this gap in the body panel and unplug it, which is not really the easiest thing to do. You can see it's got a small little push down on it. The other thing to note is that these sensors in the door here are pretty long with the clip, so you really want to get a screwdriver and press them in the middle so they come straight up, because it's only one wire and they're pretty easy to pull out. The other thing to note is there's going to be couple ground cables. They're going to have to be disconnected in order to get the whole harness out, which is actually one part with the main harness. So while we're doing this, the other thing to keep in mind is once you actually get this down to this section and pulling it out, you want to take the wires from each side and wrap them together, and then twist or cable them, wrap them up, and then tape them together and label it as which side of the car is which. Which there are a few little things that make it easy to recognize, but like these cables up here, you got the ground plug, so that's pretty easy to tell. And these cables back here, you have the speed sensor plug, which you'll have on the other side, but it's going to end up being a lot longer. And you also have that ground plug back there. But it's just a lot easier if you go ahead and wrap them up and label them. Then there's no worry about which side they go on. And I may not reuse this harness, but it may be being sold just in case somebody needs one, and or saved, because I may end up needing to replace this top part here. You can see the rear harness actually disconnects here and then runs up into the chassis and here through the hatch to basically run the wiper motor and your brake lights and control the electronic trunk. I'm gonna hope that's good for now. We are gonna get these rear panels off here at some point, and as you can see, these are definitely a spray paint job, or it's just got so wet that the factory one is just corroding away. And you see there's supposed to be two clips here, and you're gonna want to make your way around and kind of pull straight down to get to the clips that are up there that actually look like they go forward. So we'll do some investigating. We may have to start back here from the middle, but I'll let you know how that goes when we get down to it. Well, as we can see here, the best way was to start in the back and then work out. But as we can see here, the actual connector for the third brake light has been completely cut off. It's actually supposed to sit back here. And just to make sure we don't get pulled over later because of some wiring issues and a brake light not working, we're going to swap this whole assembly out, which means we are going to be pulling our wires out, which putting those back in there is probably not going to be a fun job. But if you take a look, this is how it's supposed to be. You can see there's the connector from the main harness to the connector for the light, and then the actual connections on the light itself. So we will definitely be swapping all that over. Got lucky and ended up finding that factory plug stuffed behind the light, so we just went ahead and switched my light with the connector on it over, so we can avoid having to take all this out. Although you saw I did take it out before I realized that, but it's back together now. The other thing we're going to do get rid of these taillights. That's got a crack in it, and this one's good, but in general I'm not a fan of the flat red, so we're gonna switch over to the 04 lights. So to do that, you gotta come back here. You know, luckily all our paneling and everything is off, and you got an 8mm screw down here and another 8mm screw right here that's already missing a nut, and another one up here at the top, which is loose. So you just take these off. By movie magic, they're all off, and then you can kind of slide the light out. Now there are some clips in there, so you got to be careful. And it does look like something's getting stuck. So it's probably an angle thing. Hold on, I'm gonna need 2 hands. Alright, so we got it halfway, but it looks like I have a little mount down there. That's not plan friendly. So what I'm gonna do is, as much as I like this color, this bumper needs some Bondo and some touch up, especially right here. You can see the nice little dent. So we're gonna go ahead and take this bumper off. It'll probably get a white one temporarily, but to do that, there's a screw here and a screw here, and then these side panels, and the plastic's already off, but they should. Oh, we got one screw right here. It doesn't want to focus on it. So you take that screw off and take these screws off for the mud flaps since they're attached, and then it should just kind of pop out the sides here and we'll be done. So let's take care of that. Oh, now our bumper's off. So we got to get these side marker lights out, which is not really good to be at an angle. It'll probably not want to come out, which it doesn't. And this side light marker over here is broken, so we'll have to use the ones off mine. Which hopefully I can find all mine, because I got clear ones. And then we do see on this side, this bracket actually holds the light in. It's got a screwdriver. Now that bracket is somehow missing from the other side, so we'll be doing some swapping, I guess, on that to take that care of that. And while we got everything off and we're at it, this wonderful factory muffler can come off, and I know somebody will want it. I got a whole resonator free header back exhaust for this. Just needs a little bit of work, like adding the flange back on for the muffler, and it'll be good. But it's actually one of the better exhausts for this motor and this car. So let me get this lined up and get our wonderful side marker lights out and unplugged and get that headlight off. Alright, so a couple more things to wrap up today. We're actually going to get that driver's side door off here in a minute. I've already got all the wiring disconnected on the inside. We got this lovely dent in here that's already been kind of bonded, so I'm gonna switch my door out, which is going to lead to changing this lock. It'll end up being white, but as you can see, we already got fender off over here, and basically just to get the door off, it's right there with those mounts, and to pull the harness out of the door. Now the other thing that I noticed is to get that speed sensor out, all the wiring for the evap system is going to have to come out. Now, there are definitely some spots in there that don't look too good, and my main concern is going to be this canister purge valve over here, if I can get the focus. As you can see, it's a little rusty, and I had the problem on my CRV that I chased down for a while. It ended up being that the rust had got inside the gasket and separated it, throwing a check engine light code. So we're going to be getting under mine and see which one's in the worst case. And while we're doing all this other stuff, I'm going to drop that down to get the wires and everything off easily. Might as well replace it if it needs to be replaced. And instead of doing like I did on the CRV, swapping the actual valve, which those rusty bolts in there ended up getting stuck, and I had to find replacement plugs and all kinds of crazy stuff to get it to work again without getting a whole new canister. We'll probably just swap out the whole canister in one deal. First thing first with this door, to make sure there's no problems later on, we're going to try to get the wiring harness out, which is through here. And you have to play with the plug to get it out. But as you can see, it's not going to be fun because it actually kinks down at the bottom. So we're going to go in there and check and make sure nothing else is holding it in place. As you see, there's a wonderful cable tie there, and hopefully it looks like about all we're going to run into. That's that same cable tie. So let me get to prying and then we'll go from there. Now there was one more little clip that was above that we got out, and the other one I just ended up cutting out. So now should be able to just pull it through like that. Alright, let's get the door open and see. Oh, we're wrapped up around the wiring harness. Alright, carefully guide these plugs out of here. And there we go. So that takes care of that harness. Now, to line the door back up is going to be difficult regardless. But what we're going to try to do is just remove these bolts here and here, and hopefully be able to line back up to the stock height and everything with a little bit of give and take. Now also on the inside you got your actual hinge here, and we want to take that off first just so it doesn't give us problems if the drawer drops. We don't want to break that. I mean, it's pretty thick, but it's still plastic. So I believe those are either a 2, yep, they're 12. So let me knock those off real quick and I'll be back. Alright, so there we have it. Door's off. And what you want to make sure to do is when you go to take these bolts out, that the door is shut. So it holds on here with the door lock. Then you don't have to worry about dropping the door or anything crazy. It'll pretty much stay right in place with the body and that holding it together. And then you pick the heavy damn thing up and you set it off to the side. So we will be using the door off that car and gonna have to swap the locks, which will be fun because I did find the keys for this car, so we are going to get it matched at the dealership. Which, by the way, if anybody knows a decent Honda or Acura dealership in and around Charlotte and Concord area that doesn't charge too much and actually knows what a immobilizer rekeying means, then let me know down below, because the quote I got today was $175, and out of 4 dealerships, that was the only dealership that even had a clue what I was talking about. So let me know. Thanks. Bye. I forgot about this, but one last thing we're going to do today is get that wing off of there and over there. And to do that, what you have to do is take the third brake leg out. You see this is out from earlier. It was just 1, 2 bolts and a clip, and you just definitely need a small screwdriver to fit in there and get the clip. Now, to get the wing off, you have these clips here and here, which look like they're going to be a pain in the ever-living rear to get out without breaking them. These 2 10mm bolts right here, and you have a bolt here, which I'm not sure the size of, probably a 10, and here on either side. Now, the other thing to take into consideration is this piece right here where it's split actually velcros, if I can zoom on it, onto the window. So if you go to take it off and it gets stuck on, it's because of that velcro. So no, I still got some velcro on the other car that hasn't come off the glass, so hopefully we'll be able to get these all separated. When I get that done, we'll see how it goes. Okay, so these clips, get in there and try to focus, are actually a 4-way clip, so you can't really get on them with pliers and get them all together. But what I did figure out is that you can take base of a screwdriver and set it in there flush. Focus. The base of a screwdriver and set it in there flush and give it a couple taps, and it will actually push in without breaking the clip. And there you go. The wing is off. None of our clips are broken. The only downfall is the Velcro definitely separated, and it's pretty much a pain in the butt to get off. So I got some 1-minute epoxy that we're actually going to use on that bumper down there to fix the crack and take care of that. Now on this side, you can see it actually stuck, so we're gonna try, well, that took the whole pad with it, and we only needed part of it, so we'll separate that and get it on over to the other car.